Hey, what's going on YouTube, and welcome back to Tech Conversations. As always, I am your host Guillermo, and as always, I'm not a financial expert nor licensed professional. If you plan on investing in the stock market, please consult with one first and invest at your own risk. So I hope you're having a great day today. It is August 20th, and the stock market is up today. As you can see, SPY is up $1.05 today, or about 0.31%. And it looks like it's a little bit up after hours. So I hope you were all able to see some great gains today. Now in this video, I want to talk about a question that I get a lot. What strike price should I choose? So we're going to be going through a couple of different things that you should take a look at before you decide what strike price to choose. Now before we begin, remember to hit the like button down below and subscribe. It really helps out this channel. It really helps these videos become more widespread on YouTube, so that hopefully more people can learn more about investing in the stock market, and hopefully you can all too one day make $20,000 in one day. So thank you guys so much for your support. We're almost at 10,000 subscribers. Once we hit 10,000, I will be doing a huge giveaway, so stay tuned for that. Now let's get into this video. So for this video, I'm going to be using AMD. I usually use AMD for most of my videos. And so if you're new to trading options, I'll put a link in the description below to a video where I talk about trading options in more detail. Feel free to check that video out if you'd like. So I'm assuming you guys know at least the basics of trading options. And so the first thing you do, right, before you do anything else is determine what kind of option you want, right? Whether you want to buy options or sell options, and then what type. Do you want to call or do you want to put? And so let's just assume here that we're going to be buying options, right? So we're going to be buying calls or puts. And so let's say that we believe AMD is going to drop in price. So we're bearish on AMD. So when it comes to buying options and you're bearish on a stock, you're going to want to buy a put. Because remember, when you buy a put, you're hoping that the price of the stock goes down. When you buy a call, you're hoping that the price of the stock goes up. So let's assume you figured all that out already. So now there's two major decisions that you need to make here. First one is, what expiration date do you want for your contract? Right? You can click on this drop down and it'll give you all the expiration dates available. So it's a big decision you got to make here. I'll talk about this in a different video, so we'll just leave it at August 28th. The second big decision you need to make is, what strike price do you want to choose? And as you can see, the strike prices are here on the left. And so the share price of AMD, you can see right here, is $82.78. Okay, so before we get into anything here, let's take a look at what the value of these contracts are. So that's going to be under price. And so let's say we're taking a look at this one right here with an $82 strike price. So the value of this is going to be $1.82, but that's per share. And remember, each contract is 100 shares, so you actually have to multiply this by 100. And so the value of this contract is actually $182. So if I wanted to buy this put right now, I would need $182. Now, the value of each one of these contracts is determined by one or two of these things: extrinsic value and intrinsic value. So all of these contracts are going to have extrinsic value, and that's going to refer to time and volatility value. In other words, time until expiration. Because what you guys need to understand is that when you buy options, the value of your contract is going to decrease every single day up until expiration, until extrinsic value is zero. Right? And so if you want to know how much that is, again, volatility kind of plays into it, but this will give you a rough idea here. That's going to be with theta, right? So when you click on this and you go to the Greeks, there's this theta variable. And so this is going to tell you how much the value of your contract is going to decrease by every single day that passes by, right? So if I were to buy this put today, tomorrow, theoretically speaking, the value of this contract would be $0.1350 less. And this is per share, so you do have to multiply this by 100. So that'd be $13.50 less. So I would have lost $13.50 tomorrow, right? And so keep in mind theta is going to keep increasing as it gets closer to expiration date. And so, when expiration date comes and the end of the day comes, extrinsic value is going to be 0. Okay. Now the other value is going to be intrinsic value. This is going to be what the value of your contract is at expiration. And so to understand intrinsic value a little bit more, we need to understand two different types of things here: in the money options and out of the money options. So out of the money options are options that only have extrinsic value. Okay, and what that means is if your option is out of the money on expiration date, it's gonna be worth $0, right? You're gonna lose all your money. But if your option is in the money, it's gonna have intrinsic value and extrinsic value, which means if if expiration date comes, it's not going to be completely 0 because extrinsic value will be 0, but it still has some intrinsic value. And so which one of these contracts have intrinsic value, which ones don't, which ones are in the money, which ones are out of the money? So let me explain that. When it comes to buying puts, the ones that are in the money are going to be the ones that the strike price is higher than the share price. So all of these here are in the money, meaning these all have extrinsic and intrinsic value. And then the strike prices that are less than the share price are only going to have extrinsic value, and these are going to be out of the money. And the reason this is because you got to understand what buying a put actually means. When you buy a put, you have the right, but not the obligation, to sell 100 shares of this stock to the seller, right, whoever sold you this put, at that strike price, right? So, for example, if I buy this put right here, and August 28th comes, the end of the day is here, and AMD is, let's say, 82.77, it doesn't move, I could potentially sell 100 shares of AMD at $83 a share to the seller, right? So you'd buy them at, whatever the price is. So here it's 82.76, and then sell them at 83, right? And so that's intrinsic value because you're still making some money like that. Of course, extrinsic value is 0 there, but there is some intrinsic value. In contrast, if I were to buy this one, right, and then expiration date comes, August 28th comes, extrinsic value is 0, and then intrinsic value doesn't make sense because why would I buy 100 shares at 82.76 and then exercise my right to sell them at $82 a share? That doesn't make any sense, right? I'd lose money in that scenario. And so these are all going to expire worthless if, if these strike prices are still under the share price. Okay, so then generally speaking, what I'm trying to get at here is that generally speaking, again, there's less risk involved with contracts that are in the money, right? Because, if I were to say buy this put right here, well, it's more likely that AMD will be, the price of AMD will be under 85 than, let's say, for example, if I bought this $80 strike price, right? It's more likely that the share price will be under 85 than it is that it will be under 80. And I hope that kind of makes sense, right? Because you have like $5 extra where the price can be at, and the value of that contract will still have some value. Okay, and so yes, these are going to cost more, but again, because they have extrinsic value as well as intrinsic value. That's why these cost more than these, right? Now, in terms of risk to reward, out of the money are going to be better. Okay, and so what I mean by that is, let's say I were to buy this put right here at $79, and so let's say AMD does drop to $78. Well, if you were to graph this out, you will see that this contract would actually have a better return than if I were to buy this contract right here. Okay, so again, these are in the money. They have extrinsic and intrinsic value. These are out of the money. They only have extrinsic value. And so when buying a call, it's going to be the opposite, right? These are going to be in the money down here, strike price less than share price. These are going to be out of the money, strike price greater than the share price. Now, one thing I want you guys to note here, though, is let's say that you have a tough stop loss, right? Let's say you buy options and you can only afford to lose a certain amount. One thing you want to take a look at there is delta, okay? Because if we take a look at delta for this one, let's say, you can see delta is 0.50. And so what delta tells you is how much the value of this contract is going to increase or decrease by with a $1 change in AMD. Meaning that if AMD goes up $1, the value of this contract is going to lose $50. If it goes down $1, the value of this contract is going to increase by $50. Right? Whereas for some of these out of the money ones, so let's say the $78 strike price, if AMD goes up by $1, you're only losing $18. And if it goes down by $1, you're making $18. And remember, you need to multiply this by 100 because this is per share, and there's 100 shares in each contract, right? So that might be something you take note of too, right? Because let's say you have $300, but you can only afford to lose, let's say, 20 bucks, right? Well, then what you gotta understand here is if AMD goes up by $1, which again, it doesn't take much to do, you're gonna already be down 50 bucks. Right, where if you buy this and it goes up by $1, you're only down 18 bucks. Right, so in terms of risk to reward, again, I think out of the money is more favorable because if AMD does shoot down past the strike price here, you're going to get a better return. But I think overall, when it comes to risk, these in the money ones are going to be less risky because again, they do have intrinsic value. Again, it is less likely that the share price will go below, the strike prices of these out of the money ones than, it being below the strike prices of the ones that are in the money, right? Because the price right now is already under the price of the strike price here in the money, right? And so hopefully that makes a little bit more sense. A lot of that is basically the same for buying calls. Right? Theta is going to be the same. Delta is just going to be the opposite way, right? Because when you buy a call, the price of the stock goes up. So in this scenario, if AMD goes up by $1, you're actually going to be making $49.67. If it goes down by $1, you're going to lose $49.67, right? But besides that, it's going to be the same, right? These that are in the money are going to have a higher delta. These that are out of the money are going to have a lower delta. And then again, always take a look at theta to understand how much the value of your contract is going to decrease by just because of time, right? Time decay. So I hope that kind of helps you guys determine, what to look at next time you buy in options. Of course, when you're selling options, time decay is our friend. And so we love theta. We do, we do want the contract to expire worthless. That's kind of our goal when selling options. But for buying options, it's the opposite. So let me know what you guys think. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Again, if you guys want to join my Discord, link to it is in the description below. Also, if you plan on using Robinhood in the future, feel free to use my referral link in the description below. If you sign up using my referral link, both you and I will receive one free stock, which is basically free money for both of us. So let's help each other out, guys. And as always, I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys next time.